backyard. So for my daughter, it's like you don't just put them in like a dress and send them out to the backyard. Well, if you have to go potty, you go pee in the cinder block.
Oh.
Right? Human urine is good for your yard. It actually makes your grass grow. And it was we
not
have
a
we
lot
have
at
the
one
best
time.
photos of her little friends, right? Cinder blocks of like 2 holes. So they're sitting there, they're chatting, sitting on the cinder block going potty. And it was a huge success for us. I had boys after that, which,
That's why
it's
not quite
different, but
that's why Kevin said, "Don't touch that cinder block."
right. All of our cinder blocks have been christened in some possible way. We don't own a lot of them, but it was just, yeah. And the funny things, I was going to mention something toxic to parenting is comparison. Is like, oh, well, my kid, people do that with us a lot. It's like, oh, your kids are so good in math. It's like, well, yes, it's because I threatened their life. Or it's the 2 pew rule that if you're more than 2 pews away, then when my kids were little, then they looked just wonderful. Because my goal was to keep it below the top of the pew. You keep the mayhem down below your waist. And people more than 2 pews away think, oh, your children are so good. But the comparison, and we as parents do it all the time. Yeah. We see someone else's kid who's, in 85 activities and they excel in all of them. And I have one kid in none, but they're happy and I'm happy and our family's happy. But that piece of toxicity of just comparing how you do it with how other people do it, with how movie stars do it.
I think you brought up 2 future topics. One is the comparison thing, and the other is how to handle mass with kids, because you nailed it. Yeah. You think that it was a disaster. People will come up to you. Oh, that great job. I said, are you kidding me?
Were we in the same church?
Right.
Oh,
well, that's the great thing about.
I have a lot to say on that.
That's the great thing about doing a separate daddy-daughter or separate daddy-son time, is it actually gives you time. If you go do something they want to do. My daughter liked to go to Burger King and play on the
the play set.
Play set, because we didn't have a play that kind of a place. We had swings, that's about it. So that was one thing she wanted to do. But over dinner, we could sit there and talk about things. Like, this is how I expect you to behave when we're in a public setting with other families or the whole family. So one time we sitting around the table, and Lance is the only one making noise, banging on the table, waiting for ice cream with a spoon, and my girls were all just sitting there, just being good kids. And a parent came out, some older woman came out and said, your kids are so well behaved. And all I could say was, well, that's kind of how we expect them to behave. Yeah. Because we've had these conversations that we have enough of a handful with Lance. We didn't need them to be a distraction as well. But then they got rewarded for their good behavior. So,
all right.
I want to mention something this Sunday at Nampa Dick's Sporting Goods. I'm going to be there protesting their desire to give $4,000 credit to employees who get an abortion. I'm going to just stand there with a little sign out front, little table and chair. If anyone wants to join me, I'm just inviting. I'll be there whether you guys come or not. But if anyone wants to join me, I want to really protest their decision to give money. When you look at it, Dick's Sporting Goods makes money off of parents buying their children's sporting goods. And if Dick's Sporting Goods is going to keep killing all their employees' sporting goods, they're killing off their future investments of purchases. So it doesn't make sense to me why they're boasting about it. But I thought, okay, I'm going to do something.
So Sunday at 11?
So Sunday at 11, Dick's Sporting Goods in Nampa.
Man Cave with Pat King and Eddie Trask. We will take a 60-second break. Be back with news, traffic, and weather next.
Salt and Light Radio serves to evangelize our listening area with the love and hope from our Lord Jesus Christ. Your business has the opportunity to cooperate in this work of salvation by becoming a Beacon of Light sponsor. Support of our programming not only keeps this ministry financially viable, it demonstrates your commitment to our vital mission. To learn more about how your business can become a Beacon of Light, visit saltandlightradio.com or call 208-344-4774. 208-344-4774.
Did you know that Catholic radio has saved lives, marriages, and brought people back to the faith in this community? Yet still many have never heard of Salt and Light Radio. We are looking to grow our Parish Ambassador program. A Parish Ambassador spreads the word about Catholic radio in either your parish or out in the community. It requires minimal time, but the rewards can be eternal. For more information, please call Carol at 208-658-4491 or email carol@saltandlightradio.com.
Morning Light News Time, 7:41, 65 degrees in Boise, 63 in Twin Falls. The Talon Fire near the Boise 114 acres, according to an update Monday evening, and had it contained by 11:30 p.m. According to BML Idaho Fire, no structures were damaged, and the cause of the fire was target shooting. Estimated control of the blaze was around 6 p.m. last night.
2 recent University of Idaho studies showed a link between agricultural contaminants and cancer. One study found that Idaho counties with more pesticide use and metals in the groundwater were closely associated with cancer in children. Another study found that fumigants, a type of agricultural pesticide, were closely associated with cancer in 11 western states. Researchers emphasize that their studies don't necessarily mean that pesticides cause cancer, only that they need to investigate the link further.
After a holiday weekend of close losses at home, the Boise Hawks are back in Billings tonight to kick off a 5-game series against the Mustangs. The Hawks have only won 1 game in their past 7 attempts, which drops their overall record now to 13-23. They are still in 4th place in their 5-team division. The Hawks' next home game at Memorial Stadium will be scheduled for next Tuesday, July 12th. If you'd like tickets or any other information, you can go to boisehawks.com.
A family-owned ice cream company in California is partnering with a Boise food group to expand its flavor reach. The product, 15 different artisan flavors of ice cream made from milk from pasture-raised sheep. How do you feel about sheep milk ice cream, Brian?
I don't quite know how I can wrap my head around that. Have you had sheep
I've
milk?
had sheep cheese.
Okay.
Which is really good.
So it might stand to reason that sheep ice cream?
Yes. It's got potential. I mean, really, milk and sugar and happy flavors. You can't go wrong.
That's true.
The Boise Group owns the 8-store Euro Shack franchise in the Treasure Valley, as well as the Downtown Creamery at 7th and Main. Favorites include strawberry basil, vanilla bean, and my personal #1, peanut butter chocolate chip. Traffic and weather are next.
Support for Salt and Light Radio comes from the Southwest Idaho Area Agency on Aging and Metro Community Services. Through a special federal grant, a specialist is provided to educate low-income seniors and persons with disabilities about programs available to help them pay for their Medicare costs, such as the Part D Extra Help Low-Income Subsidy or the Medicare Savings Program. Anyone in the Treasure Valley or Magic Valley areas can receive more information at 1-800-247-4422. That's 1-800-247-4422.
Good morning, light traffic. So the freeway commute looks pretty good this morning. There's some slowing, but not the typical parking lot we see this time of day. Along 84 in Meridian, of course, coming and going from all of the on and off ramps. So just a bit of slowing. I'm going to look and see if we have any other accidents to report. Oh, my map is refreshing at the slowest possible speed, so I can't tell you any more about that. Sorry. State Street is slow in a couple of places, particularly in Star. That's your morning light traffic.
In the Treasure Valley, sunny and hot through Sunday. Highs will be in the mid-90s, overnight lows in the low 60s. Magic Valley, much the same. Partly cloudy skies through the weekend. Afternoon highs mid-90s and overnight lows mid-60s. Yesterday's official high at the Boise Airport, 91, and the low was 62. Right now, 64 in Caldwell at Our Lady of the Valley, 56 in Rupert at St. Nicholas, and Nampa reporting 64 degrees at St. Paul's. Let's learn more about our saint of the day when we return a bonus edition of Catholic Book Club.
This is Franciscan Media's Saint of the Day for July 6th. Today we celebrate Saint Maria Goretti. The simple story of Maria Goretti has touched millions. The daughter of a poor Italian tenant farmer, she never learned to read or write. One afternoon in 1902, Maria, not quite 12, was in her cottage mending a shirt. Outside, a cart stopped. An 18-year-old neighbor, Alessandro Serenelli, ran inside. He seized Maria and pulled her into a bedroom. She struggled and tried to call for help, gasping that she'd rather be killed than submit to him. Alessandro began blindly striking at her with a long dagger. Maria was taken to a hospital, but before she died, 24 hours after the incident, she forgave her attacker. Serenelli was sentenced to 30 years in prison. For a long time, he remained surly and unrepentant. One night, he had a dream or vision of Maria gathering flowers and offering them to him, which changed his life. Released after 27 years, his first act was to beg forgiveness of Maria's mother. At Maria Goretti's canonization in 1950, 66-year-old Alessandro Serenelli cried tears of joy as he knelt among the 250,000 people assembled at St. Peter's Square. There's more about the saints along with inspiration and Catholic resources at our website, saintoftheday.org. From Franciscan Media, this has been Saint of the Day.
7:47, 13 minutes away from Morning Light, which is something you usually hear every. Our dear friend Teresa Zepeda, who we heard from earlier in the show. Angela lives out in Tacoma, and she got a new book out called The Crowded Table, The Brave and Beautiful Choice to Mother Many. So how many kids do you have, Angela, that you're writing on this topic?
I have 9, only 9 children.
Only 9? What's wrong?
That'll fill a table for sure.
Yeah, really. So tell us about the book.
Well, in some ways, the book is like my 10th baby. It's been in my heart for many, many years. And I'm so inspired by this kind of countercultural lifestyle of the big family and the crowded table, and in all its forms. I fell in love with the lifestyle when I was little, watching The Sound of Music, and I was not around a bunch of big families. So I'm the oldest of 4, but I was so drawn. This book is magical. It's magical because it collects these women's voices, these lived experiences of this very uncommon lifestyle, but it is so full of beauty. And I wanted to capture that and to celebrate that.
So you have stories from 52 different women. Who are these women? What are their roles, and how did you get connected with them?
They're very diverse women. First of all, they actually come from all over the U.S. We have 5 women from Guatemala, 1 from Nigeria, 1 from Canada, 1 from Britain. They, for the most part, all of them have a faith perspective as well. Although not all are Catholic, most of them are Catholic, and they share that faith. But it's a ecumenical book in many ways also, because this passion for children and for giving oneself and opening up one's arms and home and heart to many, and especially the vulnerable, really comes through. There's a pastor's wife who writes for the book. There's different lenses, and yet this common pro-life, pro-family, and pro-woman perspective of the beauty of motherhood and beyond, because it is beyond biology too. I just want to emphasize the amazing things too that these women have birthed. They're not only professionally, but nonprofits that help others, and so it's a spirit of saying yes, saying fiat, and going beyond.
If you're just joining us here on Morning Light, we're wrapping up the show with Angela Connelly. She's an author, and her new book is The Crowded Table, The Brave and Beautiful Choice to Mother Many. Angela, why do you think having a large family is so strange in today's culture, when maybe back in the 40s and 50s and maybe even in the 60s, it was sort of commonplace, but you don't see them as much anymore?
No, I think it's been a marginalized life choice culturally. And I think women and motherhood, it hasn't been esteemed. And I think it's the moment now, actually, that we need to reclaim that and to show its beauty again. I think women have been given the message that that it's just not worthwhile, that's not where their value lies. And it's incredible when you think of what it means to have a family, to be in charge, and forming and nurturing these little souls. And it's amazing how, again, this book, I'll tell you, one of the impetuses of the book was President Macron from France, who made a statement at the Gates Foundation conference to say, show me an educated woman out there who would have 6, 7, 8 children. Well, this book shows President Macron these amazing women who choose this, who love it. And not that it's easy, and not that life is easy, and yet they walk through it all. And they shared how much they appreciate this lifestyle, even in the hardest times. So it's for the culture. It's to show the beauty. It's to encourage women who have large families, or young women who've never even thought about it, and to say, look at this light. And yeah, I think it's a moment in our culture now with Roe v. Wade. Everything is being looked at in a different way, and there's such hope and beauty ahead.
It is encouraging. As I have 3 children, but I have lots of friends where my family is considered the small family. And it's encouraging to know that they have community amongst themselves. There are Facebook groups that are just for large families. So a lot of opportunity for people to connect. An argument against large families is that, it's too expensive. It's too expensive to have a bigger gaggle of children than 2 point whatever. How do you respond to that?
It's interesting. I think that there is a joy that lies in the beyond our 2 hands, beyond our means in all ways. When we trust, when we say yes, when we take that step out in faith. Several women in their stories share about, I'm thinking Christine Deardorff is one in particular in the book, a mother of 10 children. She's also an editor for a Catholic national newspaper. And she talks about the things you have to do to survive really financially for their family. But she also talks about the incredible gift it's been to her children. They can make do with so little. They appreciate. I mean, there's the good and the bad, and there's good in everything, and there's good in sacrifice, especially for such beautiful things as a family.
Absolutely. So who do you think benefits the most by reading your book, Angela?
Every single person. It's not just like, okay, my priest, Father David Mulholland, and I'm going to send him the link to this so he can hear this, but he's like, oh, I'm worried it's just a chick book because it's got all these women. And it's so funny. It is not a chick book. It's for women. It's by women, but it is a cultural, radical book. And it goes there. It goes there, and it's needed for every single person in today's world.
Well, going back to the president of France and his comment, it's like it seems to me we have a Supreme Court justice who is the mother of many children, and 7 children. She seems to be highly educated and doing pretty well in her life. So
that's who I thought of when she said that. I was like, let's turn that on its head.
Amy Coney Barrett, and here's so interesting. She is marginalized too. So it's just a moment for these women to stand out. And I wanted to say 3 is an infinite number of children. 1 is an infinite number of children. Every person is infinite. And so it doesn't matter the number really, it's the heart. So I just think in whatever way we're each called to each day, man or woman, in any way, what is the way God's calling us to say yes and to go beyond and to be fruitful?
Angela, what advice would you give a family who's listening, who is pondering having many children, but might think, We're not sure, or they're pondering maybe foster to adopt, or they're thinking about other ways of expanding their families. What advice would you give them in our last minute?
Oh, I would say pray and close your eyes and follow what God calls you to, because there is great joy and it is an adventure, and be willing to say yes.
Yeah, that's true.
You.
Just say
Beautiful.
yes. God's got the rest. Right. How do people get a hold of a copy of the book, Angela?
So we're actually in bookstores and in Christian bookstores, but we're online, Amazon.com, BarnesandNobles.com, and various, Walmart.com. So it's it's all over there.
Right.
It's all out there for the world.
Visit AngelaConnelly.com to see the beauty of the book and little snippets from what's inside. AngelaConnelly.com.
The name of the book is The Crowded Table, The Brave and Beautiful Choice to Mother Many. And how do you know Teresa?
Oh, my goodness. Well, Teresa's a TAC alum, Thomas Aquinas College friend. And also her husband. Okay, I have a quick story about her husband. The Zapata family are also TAC alums, and I used to drive in their VW big VW van. They'd come in their old van. They'd pick me up because I'm from Tacoma, Washington. They're from Washington, and we would drive to TAC together and hoping we didn't get asphyxiated by the fumes. So that's my story for Teresa Zapata.
I love that. I spent a year in Tacoma, so I appreciate that part of Washington. Very good.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing the dirt. We appreciate that. And thank you for your time. Beautiful book. And hopefully we'll get a chance to talk again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for what you're doing.
All right.
Bye-bye.
God bless. That's going to wrap up our wonderful Wednesday edition of Morning Light. Later today, you can go to saltandlightradio.com, click on the Morning Light page, and hit podcast if you missed any of today's segments or previous programs.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Email us with questions and comments, pointing at all the cameras. Email us, please. morninglight@saltandlightradio.com. Thank you to our guests today, Teresa Zapata, Pat King, Eddie Trask, and Angela Connelly.
Tomorrow, Vocations Focus with Jim and Mary Ellen Nurse. Also, Jay Wanacott from the Office of Marriage and Family Life for our diocese. And sacred music will be provided tomorrow morning by Jake Einig.
So join us at 7 a.m. for a Thankful Thursday edition of Morning Light. St. Maximilian Kolbe, pray for us.
St. Maria Goretti,
pray for us. St. Gabriel the Archangel,
pray for us. Thanks for listening. Have a holy day. Salt and Light Radio, AM 1140 KG.